right. We've got a couple questions coming in dealing with the schedule once OU moves to the SEC. And so, unboxing reviews and more asking, are we going to have Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas every year? So, I believe you're pointing to what could turn out to be the schedule format. It is in the ACC. There are some hints that it's going to be adopted in the Big Ten. And in the SEC, it would be a 3-6-6 format where you would play 3 teams every season, and then you split the rest of the conference 6-6, and you basically alternate back and forth between that 6 and the other group of 6 teams. So Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas. I drew it up a couple weeks ago, and I know that I had Texas and Missouri in the mix. Obviously, they're protecting rivalries. They are going to try to create a fair, balanced format too. They don't want to have one particular team have to face Alabama, Georgia, and LSU every year, and somebody else is facing Vandy, Missouri, and Ole Miss or somebody. So that's going to be taken into consideration. But of course, these rivalries are going to be protected. That seems to be pretty reasonable there, but obviously all the puzzle pieces have to fit. So it has to fit. I don't think there's any question. Oklahoma, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, I would think is going to be renewed. And then Oklahoma, Arkansas, I would think could be a priority, but it has to work again with all the puzzle pieces working for the entire conference.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Mark. And I think probably there's only really 4 legitimate options that I would think that Oklahoma would be in the mix with those 3 common opponents that you'd mentioned. Obviously, Texas is going to be one. With that's obviously certainly not even something that would be a consideration. But I think Missouri, Arkansas, and Texas A&M are the 3 are going to be 2 of 3 that Oklahoma will be in the mix with. And it's I think it's interesting to see what that will look like. I think Missouri will be one as well. I would be a little surprised if that's not one of the ones as well, just given the Big Eight. The Big Eight then obviously the Big 12 until Missouri moved over was not necessarily a rivalry, but it's certainly a common opponent that Oklahoma had each and every year. But I think the other one is interesting. I think a lot of what the SEC has done up till now with Texas A&M and Missouri is really trying to I don't want to say artificially, but create some rivalries that maybe weren't there previously. I mean, I think of Texas A&M and LSU. That what's been made. So really, I would kind of lean towards exactly what you'd mentioned, Arkansas, as being a little is something that Oklahoma probably should be playing more often than they have. They played in a couple of bowl games. Not many as of late. Cotton Bowl in 2001, I believe, if that was if memory serves right. And then obviously they played in some Orange Bowls between Switzer and Holtz back in back in the, I guess that would have been the early 80s, right? And so I think seeing that rivalry renewed a little bit would be would be very interesting. So I would guess right now would be Texas, Missouri, and Arkansas would be part of that consistent. Consistent. And if nothing else, I mean, obviously that helps from a regional basis, from a travel. Those 4 schools are very close in proximity to each other, but it almost begs the question on some of these others, right? I mean, you would assume that the SEC would continue with like that Texas A&M and LSU, and be there, and obviously Texas and Texas A&M, you would think, unless something crazy happens, that they would kind of renew that rivalry, so to speak. But yeah, I think that'll be very. I mean, that's one of the things that I'm very intrigued to look at, just to see what that schedule will look like. And to your point, Mark, around some of those teams, making it even in such a way that you're not that you have the same level of, at least the same level of teams that you're playing as in totality within those 3. than some of the others do.
If I'm not mistaken, Holtz and Switzer got together in the 78 Orange Bowl.
Mhm.
And then I believe the other game that you're alluding to was a Cotton Bowl between Oklahoma and Arkansas. Those are the only games that come to mind for me.